Everybody good? All right, it's great to be with you guys. Thanks for coming. Appreciate everybody coming out. Hopefully you had a really good time talking to our guys, many of who are new or you didn't have a chance to meet with this summer. So I appreciate everybody coming out. I'd be remiss if I didn't begin with the talk of the sports world on Saturday. Big congrats to Ryan, his staff, and players. What a game. What a game. What an unbelievable game. So excited for them. We enjoyed watching it together as a team while we were away for a couple days. So I'll make some brief statements and then get rolling here with questions. As many of you know, this starts our practice week here. We have a number of practices and a number of days before our first contest, 30 practices before our first 42 days out from our first game. And that's obviously a really, really important time for teams and programs to build consistent habits. And that's really what these next 4 to 6 weeks are about, is building our system and building consistent habits with our team. So we are really excited about this group. As excited as I've been. It's really nice to see some faces that went through some real battles last year back at it. Many of you guys know who I'm talking about with those returning guys. So it's great to have a core group of returning guys, along with the addition of some transfers and freshmen. So yeah, we are ready to go and excited. I will say this: I think our schedules, I really believe our schedule is the best schedule we've had since we've been here, both in terms of how competitive it is, the quality of opponents we have, both in mid-major opponents as well as certainly some traditional powers that dot the schedule throughout the year, as well as an unbelievable Big Ten schedule. We did not get the benefit of the doubt last year with Big Ten home games. This year we have some tremendous Big Ten home opponents coming to the shot. So this is as good a schedule as we've had, a great home schedule, and I can't wait to get started. So I'll start with questions.
Well, Chris, you're obviously, like you said, you have some returning faces, but you are still kind of young. Do you know, how much more do you know about this team than you knew about last year's team when you got things in the way?
Yeah, considerably more, Adam. I think we have way more knowns than what we had at this time last year. We had some knowns, but you had a guy like Justice who had been out a year, so there were still some questions in terms of his overall health. I think the fact that our three sophomores, we are still young, and we will be regarded, certainly in terms of age in class, one of the younger teams in the Big Ten. My only point to that would be, I think the experience that those three sophomores got last year will really prove beneficial, and I'm not sure I even look at them as sophomores because of the experience they got last year. Hopefully that provides a great benefit.
Yeah, Coach, your social media has been well documented with your weight loss journey this past summer. You gained into shape and lifting those weights and doing the running, and talking to some of the players. Felix gained a lot of weight, Bruce lost some weight, a couple other players changed their weight. Is there any correlation between your weight loss and some of the weight changes with the players?
No, I wouldn't expect it to be, and I never want to compare myself to the athlete of body of an 18 and 19-year-old. My trainer the other day, I asked her what I was squatting. She throws the weights on there, and sometimes in my home gym, and I asked her what I was squatting, and she said, well, you need about 185. And 2 days earlier, our strength coach had told me that Bruce did 400. So I'm going to try not to compare myself to them. I will say this: our guys are physically as good as they've been. I think our conditioning is something we need to improve on these next 4 to 6 weeks. I think that's an area that we're really targeting as a team that we need to get better in.
Chris, players have been talking about an edge to them, and that Buckeye basketball's back. Do you get that as a coach? You get that edge back and want to prove yourself again?
Sure. I mean, how can you not after what we all went through last year? And that's the benefit, again, of having guys that have scars to them from last year. You know, I think there can be real power in the pain we went through last year. And I think if it's used in a way that provides fuel. I think that's a really positive thing, and I don't think you can go through what we went last year and not feel that way unless you're not a competitive guy.
This seems also like a year where you love having guys back. You've always said the old wins in college too. So I don't know how old like sophomores are, but they played a lot.
Yeah.
But you had a ton of new players combined with a lot of guys back. Is that maybe one of the more interesting dynamics you've had since you've been a coach?
Well, I think the addition of obviously some 3 transfers as well as another large freshman class brings a number of guys that are new to the team. Although people who follow Big Ten basketball will know a couple of those guys, mainly Jamison. And yet I think in a way we may not need to be quite as reliant on this young core of freshmen that we needed to be last year, and I think ultimately that could be a good thing for them and a good thing for us.
It sounds like there were TVs but no phones in the hockey hills, and Roddy was like, at first he wasn't so sure about that policy,
Yeah,
but he thought it was very worthwhile.
yeah. We had a psychologist on call for the shakes that came out of the players when we took their cell phones away. I think they, at the end of the day, appreciated the fact that they were doing something that maybe was a little bit challenging for them, a little bit outside their comfort zone. But we were not asking for them to part from their phone for a week. But having a chance to just spend some time together was the first time we had done that, Clay. And, I think it was beneficial, and, it was a great opportunity for us to kind of talk about the upcoming season. It's not like we hadn't this summer, but it gave us an opportunity to, for us to speak to them as well as for them to hear from some other guys and then spend a lot of time together.
Coach, throughout the last couple of years in playing him, what have you seen in Jameson's battle, and what does he add to your program?
Well, listen, I think he's a really proven, gifted scorer, and I think that is what we've seen from him so far in the preseason, the fact that he can score the ball, and I think we needed that with the loss of some of our wings, namely Bryce and Justice. We knew we needed some scoring. He's proven that, and now we've got to get him to continue to be that guy, and then do some things we feel like that he needs to do a little bit better in terms of defending and being a better rebounder on both ends.
Chris, you mentioned some of the body changes these guys have been through. I mean, no one seems to have changed more than Zed.
Yeah.
How incredible has it been coming off that shoulder, what he's done with his body, and does that mean that he can maybe play the 4 a little bit more with another big guy in there?
Yeah, I think it's something we'll look here, Whitney, and talk about how do we want to play those 2 guys together. It's certainly something we're going to look at here in these next 4 to 6 weeks, and have a package where we play bigger perhaps. His mobility's good. He's got to keep it at a certain level. One of the things that has made Zed effective is he's been able to throw around 245 pounds as a really strong presence. So we don't want him to lose that. But his mobility's been really good, and we certainly will look at a big package for sure at times.
How hard is it to recruit and bring in guys that will play well in the Big Ten style of play, but then also play well in the tournament style? Because let's face it, it's very different, but you have to win the Big Ten to get to the tournament.
Well, you're exactly right. I think there is a different style of play that perhaps can get you to advance, and really a lot of it is dictated on how good your guard play is. I know that's maybe overstated, but I think we know that is a reality, that your guards and your wings have to be really good in that setting. And yet in the Big Ten, we know it's physical. I think almost every power league is physical, but there are a lot of big guys, as we saw last year. I mean, you can rattle off 5 or 6 really talented big guys.
From up front center, Andy Baxter.
Chris, Roddy was talking a lot about defensive efficiency. I know that's been a priority for a couple of years now, but is it even more of a priority now, and what is the standard in that regard?
Yeah, I don't want to get specific necessarily on the numbers. Good question. It is something that we have told our guys, this is our goal, and this is something we need to get, a goal we need to get to. And that's taken a lot of kind of thought and study over the season, or over the off season, in terms of what wins and what we feel like this group is capable of. I think this group has the ability to be a much improved defensive team, but we've got to do it, and we've got to prove it. Up to this point, we've had 2 years of really not good enough performance on that end. And then last year, we just weren't efficient really on either end in Big Ten play. So that's certainly been a point of emphasis, and will be as we move forward.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about someone a little behind the scenes, maybe. Terrence Dials, just what has he brought to this program and his role, and how has he helped players excel off the court?
Yeah, Terrence is great. Yeah, Terrence has been a great addition to the staff. As you know, we hired him a few years ago when Scooney went to Memphis, and we've loved having him with us. He has a really good feel for obviously this program, and he does a lot in terms of the day-to-day with our players. A lot community service. He's involved in some NIL opportunities, and his big role is monitoring their academics.
Roddy talked about you guys kind of having a nothing to lose mentality last year in the Big Ten tournament, and he thought that kind of elevated the way you guys play. How do you bottle that up and play with that same kind of mentality all year long?
Yeah, it's interesting you hear him say that. I think we certainly played, lighter. I will say this: we started to play really well, probably a week and a half to 2 weeks before that. So I don't know if you can automatically go into that setting, say, hey, we got nothing to lose, and play well if we weren't playing well up to that point. We really had a week and a half, 2 weeks of playing pretty well, and I think that created a little bit of momentum for us. And then I think our guys did play really loose, and that'll be important for us. I think some of that comes with experience too. Guys have been through moments, and they're going to know a little bit more what to expect this year than maybe what they did last year.
And some of the guys talked about how Brandon Bailey and his NBA experience, they've been able to draw from that. Just what does he bring in that regard?
I think he's just got a deep knowledge of defense, and that's ultimately why I hired him. He's been helping with doing some things defensively, either coordinating defense or playing a major role in defense for a number of years now in the NBA. I mean, a number of years. We're talking about he was 12 years with Boston. He was 2 years with Detroit. So I just think the depth of knowledge for him is something that our guys are going to appreciate. I've appreciated it. He's got a knowledge base that I think has been really helpful, and he's been a good hire, but we've got to prove it on the floor.
Chris, how much ownership have you seen the sophomores take of this team, and how much ownership do they need to take of this team?
Well, they need to take a big role. All three of those guys, now four, because we're kind of including Evan in that group of the sophomore class, Evan Mahaffey, who we're excited about. He's now the fourth kind of one in that group. So I think all those guys are going to need to play an important role, but certainly those three guys that went through the battles last year, the struggles, and then finishing well, they need to take a big role. We'll decide on captains for the season here in about a month, but I would assume all three of those guys are going to play an important role.
And then I don't know how you feel about this being somebody's team, but Bruce Thornton does this need to be his team? Does this need to be somebody's team?
Well, I think he's going to be at the forefront of any type of leadership role or direction this team takes. There's no question of that.
Chris, the transfer portal turns live this year in October. It's like every player who's playing college basketball almost has been into the transfer portal era. How much have you seen the game change in the last 5 years, and what do you think it's at?
From the transfer portal?
Yeah.
I think significantly, but even before, I think we around here started to see the effects of the transfer portal, maybe in other sports like football. It was a big issue in basketball. So I think we started to catch wind of just how different the sport was going to look maybe 10, 12 years ago. And, it started 10, 12 years ago. You started to say, hey, the best players on some of the teams in the country are transferring. That used to be unheard of 15 years ago. So, I think it's changed significantly. The hardest thing, I think, is sometimes for your fans, because they just have a hard time getting to know your players and what your roster looks like, and that's a big adjustment for your fans.
How important is the mail today to not open it up, but to give fans a chance to hear from every single one of your guys to be able to get to know them?
It's really important, and that's why I thank you. I appreciate you guys. It's a great turnout. Appreciate you guys coming out. We love having you guys cover our program, and I think it's great for them. You get to see them in terms of their personality and what they're like. And again, a lot of these guys, it's the first time you had a chance to talk to them, I think, at length. So it's great and it's important. I'm glad you guys came out.
Ohio State men's basketball celebrates 125 years this season. What has it been like for you to be a part of a program with so much stature like Ohio State?
Oh, it's been incredible. It's been an incredible place to be at, to coach, to learn the history and the lineage of a program that is this proud and has tremendous history and tremendous following and tremendous passion behind it. I'm excited about celebrating this year and what all that represents and all the guys that came before us. We talk about that. Probably our guys get tired of us talking about how much they are representing something bigger than themselves and the teams they're representing that came before them. Absolutely an incredible honor.
We've got Steve in the back and a couple of follow-ups.
Hello.
Hi, Steve.
Hello. Bruce Thornton, going from year one to year two.
Yeah.
He was one of the dominant players in the Big Ten tournament, made the all-tournament team. You guys didn't make the championship game. Just what is it going to take for him to play at that level and to be that consistent over the course of the season and leading your team, I guess?
Yeah, I think Steve, just the confidence that he gained from the last really month and a half of the season, because as you know, you were with us every day, Steve, at all of our games. You started to see him turn the corner after that really difficult stretch he had in his freshman year. So it was well before the Big Ten tournament. Just the Big Ten tournament, we were winning and he was playing really well. I expect him to make a real positive jump, and I think it's going to be a lot of ask of him. But I expect him to build upon what he was able to do last year, and that's not to say he's a sophomore. He's going to go through some ups and downs, but he's better. We've seen that here this summer. He's gotten really good work in. I think he's in the best shape he's been in since he's been here, and that'll be important for him because he's going to play a good amount of minutes.
The four freshmen, just what have you learned about them the last couple of months working with them, and how do you see them fitting in individually, I guess?
Yeah, really excited about the four guys. A couple of them have been out throughout the summer with some injuries and some ailments that quite honestly have set them back a little bit, but I'm excited to hopefully get them and get to work. I think all of them bring real strengths to our group, and we'll know here as we get into this thing in the next month, kind of where they're at individually and how much they can help us. But I'm excited about all four of their futures.
Got a couple more here, Connor.
Chris, last year you said several times that the plan was never to have Bruce play 30, 35 minutes a game like he did. Now that he's been through kind of the ringer once, how much are you leaning into that this year, that he's going to play a lot, but not out of necessity, but because he makes things happen. He's the face of the program, like you said.
Yeah. Well, we started to play through him more last year, and I think that's when we became a more efficient offense, when we played through him more. I'll scrap any thought of, hey, we're not going to play him 30 minutes, like I said this time last year, okay? So what I believe is we're going to continue to play through him as long as he competes on both ends like we believe he will, and he's going to be really a focal point of what we do on both ends.
With Zed and Felix and Austin, do you think this is the most depth that you've had below the basket since you got here?
Yeah, I think he's got a learning curve as a big guy. He's got to continue to grow and learn, but having both of those guys, Felix with a year under his belt and Zed fully healthy, provides depth at the 5, which will be really important for us.
Finish up with that. How healthy do you start preseason?
You know, we have a few guys that are out with various things. Nothing significant right now, Adam, but I'll be honest with you, there have been some guys that have missed some time. I don't want to get into specifics, that have just limited their ability to get better at the level we hoped in the summer. But all in all, I would say our health is pretty good, but I would love for it to be perfect here as we head into this week.
And you mentioned Felix a moment ago, and he looks like he has put on a little bit of weight, gotten a little bit stronger. So much of his role was predicated on defense last year. Offensively, what kind of expectation do you have for him to take a step at that end of the court?
You know, I think there can be a step taken for sure. There's no question. I think he's improved in some areas. He showed it some glimpses last year to being able to score on both blocks. For sure. I just think it's for him. It's continual steps in terms of improving his overall skill. I think at the end of the day, we know how he impacts things and how he's going to need to impact things, and it's going to begin defense and rebounding. But there's no question offensively, he's gotten better, and I think will continue to.
And then just big picture, but after a year like you had, what constitutes, in your mind, as you see here now, what constitutes a good season?
Listen, I'm really excited about the potential of this group. I think maybe ask me again here once we have some time to spend on a day-to-day basis with our guys. But I'm really excited about what this group can grow into and be, Adam. And I think health's always an important part of that, but there's a lot of guys that I think have the ability to take steps as players. And I think if our team takes steps in terms of those areas we've identified we have to improve in, I'm excited about what this group can be. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks so much for coming out.
Coach McDuff,